joining us on this segment of CEOG Connect today. I want to appreciate you for always checking on us, checking out this channel and watching our videos. And because we know you are there, we always try as much as possible to bring you relevant information, insightful information that can also help you to galvanize your business the more and improve your product delivery. On the program today, as usual, I have the entrepreneurship juggernaut. I have the group managing director and CEO of G Consulting International Services, Mr. Godfrey Ajayi Sunday.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Asai Lume, dependable ally, dependable partner. We've been on this journey for this long, and I thank God that most of our analysis are now very predictive. We're able to predict what can happen in the nearest future, and that's why we at CEOG Connect are here, and continue to follow us on all our social media handles to be able to get the updates of what the government is doing, how it affects the CEO, and how it affects your enterprise with the view of driving your enterprise at the end of the day.
Wonderful. That is exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be trying to dissect, the Tinubu presidency as it concerns his policies, as it concerns, what we are looking ahead in terms of his 100 days in office, in terms of his 1 year in office, what is he going to be able to achieve? And looking at the steps that they are taking so far, we will try to extrapolate, information from them to be able to guide you properly in how you do your business. And before I go back to the group managing director, let me introduce you to the program that we are bringing up on the 20th of this month, 20th of July. The Tinubu administration is still very young, and but of course your business has been there, and your business will continue to be there. And your business will be there if only you are able to tap into the plans and promises and policies of the current administration, because as you know, government is the highest spender, and so they dictate the direction of the economy. And so we're going to be having what we call President BAT MSME Outlook for 2023 and 2024. It's going to be a webinar, an online program for 1 hour 30 minutes, where we're bringing in some experienced chief executive officers, including our group managing director, to share their insight, what they are seeing, from Tinubu's administration so far, and how it's going to shape businesses, small-scale businesses, medium-scale businesses into the future. And so, make it a date to join us in that program.
Yeah, the outlook is going to be predictive. Yeah, beyond what we do here, analysis of trending issues, at the outlook, we want to be able to guide this government on how they should focus on the MSME and how they're going to be using that to transform. In a few minutes, we'll be looking at some of the policies that he has already rolled out, and to look at them in details, how it affects the MSMEs. But I must tell you, as an MSME now, in order for you not to go under, please listen to that program on the 20th, and you can indeed call us back if you have issues to raise, and we want to be able to talk to the government on how to go with the MSME for them to remain relevant.
That reminds me something that I ran into somebody sometime not too long ago, and the person was like, what is the government doing for SMEs? What is government doing for SMEs? He started complaining and complaining. And I chatted the person up, because it was on LinkedIn. I chatted the person up, and I said, okay, can you join a network so that together we can raise our voice, to the government? Yeah. I didn't hear back from the person till today.
Yeah, so I think it's a major problem. If you look at the economy on a day-to-day basis, people have issues, but when it comes to fighting for those issues,
yes,
they will not.
You will not see them.
Again, there was a similar story in the UK. An old woman, there was an ice fall, and this old woman fell. And she was on her falling position. She was saying, "Do I sue?"
You should sue snow.
No, because the people who were supposed to pack the snow didn't come that morning, and this old woman fell. So, but if it's Nigeria, it will say, man, to God be the glory. You know. So that is where we are. So we really need to challenge the government, and also again, government should not see. When you criticize them, they should not see it in a negative light of it.
Yes.
They should see it as, especially when it's constructive, to see how can we make amends. And I can tell you the problem that we're facing across the world cannot be solved by one man. Okay? It has to be a collective idea. So you may see like a small boy bringing an idea that will...
That can help the system.
That will jumpstart the system.
Yes.
So everybody is important, but when it's negative, that's where I have issues with.
So let's go quickly, because you know you are you are watching your data, you are watching, you know, how many minutes this conversation is going to take. Just be patient, because we want to give you information that can help you. And so, sir, let's quickly look at the policy, some of the policies like you talked about.
Before you go, let's give them an insight into that MSME outlook.
Yes.
To say that in economy like the American economy is driven almost 100% by the MSMEs.
Sure.
But when you compare that to what is happening in Nigeria, it's about 50%. And the informal sector, you know, is playing a significant role.
Yes.
But they're not getting the desired support for them to be able to launch out. So, like you said, the MSME should consider themselves important. If governments will not come all out to help them, they should be able to form pressure groups to be able to dictate what they want.
What should happen?
Because as it is today, from statistics, I think from Bureau of Statistics, MSME contribute about 50% to the GDP.
Yes.
So they can actually do more, because in America they are doing upward of about 80.
Yeah, 70, 75, 80%.
80%
of that GDP.
In terms of employment creation, I mean, I think we should go to per hour billing.
Yeah. Yes.
So what I mean by that is, like, I mean, one of the policies that the bad government is trying to look at is the civil service. How can we pay them per hour?
Yes.
So if you actually want to drive productivity, that's where you should be looking at. Because these days, maybe when we talk about subsidy now, we can look at.
Yes. We won't talk about subsidy, but you know something interesting you said there. Will our civil servants be willing to receive salary based on per hour?
It will be better for them.
Because at the current level of their performance, you know, when you are being paid per hour, you are expected to perform, you know.
Yes, because I have one of my siblings is in America, and he just went to America, and you know, the phone call he pulled across to me, say, "Bros, there is work here to be done." He said, "If you want to work,
there is work
to be done." So what that tells me is that create the work to be done. So I mean, it's now left for you to want to do to earn the kind of income
that you want
to earn, and
that would be fantastic, because you know, in this part of the world we have a lot of engagement with some civil servants, and they'll tell you, you know, somebody will be working in a particular agency and he'll be eyeing the other agency all because he or she believes that agency is paid more, you know, and all that.
In UAE recently, I tried to relate with a particular agency. It's like an agency under a ministry, so under the health sector. So I called the primary health sector because they are driven virtually. So I called the parent agency and I said, look, I need to make contact with this organization. So they gave me a phone number, and I said, no, I want to make a physical contact. They said, no, they have moved. I said, where did they move to? I want to go to where they have moved to. They said they have moved online.
So go and meet them online.
So the civil servants, you know, we're used to traditional ways of doing things.
Yes.
Don't forget that what we want to do is the work. Ministry of Works wants to work.
Yes.
Abi, Ministry of Water Resources wants to do provide water. So you don't have to meet anybody physically. So it's to chart the work to be done, and once you chart the work to be done, and you now cost it per hour, at the end of the day you'll be able to do multiple jobs. So you can work in water resources and also do some other jobs and get paid. For you to be able to get this thing. So when we are saying all these things, it's for the betterment of the people. It's for higher productivity. It's for the people to get value for what
their service,
for what they are doing. But these days, a civil servant, you know, will go to work for 3 days in a week. So what will he be doing with the remaining days?
What will he be doing with the remaining days? Nothing. You are not productive, but you want to earn.
So
I mean, It's all right. So let's quickly bring you now into some of these policies that the Tinubu administration is taking, and to use our GMD's insight to look at how is it going to impact your business, how is it going to help your business, or how your business is supposed to position itself to be able to absorb the shock, because definitely there are some shocks that are coming with some of these socio-economic policies by the Tinubu administration. So the first one, the subsidy removal.
Yeah, it was a time bomb. That was the first time bomb on the inauguration day. Okay, so like a lot of people will say, if I were the president, I would have done a staggered removal between now and December to prepare the people. But of course, he has done what he has done, and we're now looking at the effects. The effect is burdensome on the people.
Definitely.
So even though what happened is that government was the one absorbing all these impacts. So what government now did is to push it
back to the people.
So the people are reacting. How are they reacting? You choose where to go now.
Yes. You have a calendar of movements.
So if the movement is not going to be productive, you don't embark. So that's why the filling station, I mean, I listened to a documentary in UB where they say the filling stations are losing their customers, their staff.
Okay.
Because they interviewed the staff, nobody is coming to buy fear.
So why come to the work?
So nobody is coming to buy fear. So if you are not coming to buy fear, that means the filling station will stop to exist. But of course, for I and you, that we need to move. Okay, so we need to move to places where we need to gain something
to compensate for that movement.
For that movement, actually. So the people are now reacting. The first reaction, or one of the reaction, was at the border post, where the people in Cameroon started protesting. That's the Okada riders in Cameroon started protesting that, look, they can no longer afford, because what happened was that some people have said that the subsidy that was in existence was a scam. Okay, so that means that a lot of contradictory statement. The GMD of NNPC Limited came out and said, I've never paid a subsidy in this thing. And in one other interview, he mentioned that it's NNPC that has been paying. So those are contradictions to show that actually there is a problem. And a lot of people have always been saying it, that this subsidy does not even exist. So it means that people were just carrying Nigerian money to go and do their private business. And how much are we looking at? About 400-something billion every month. So have it at the mind of them, because I've heard people say that government is saving that money. That money never even existed.
That is a new one.
Yes.
The money never existed.
It never existed.
So when you are talking about palliative, you need to be sure of where it's going to come from.
So when they are saying they are saving that money, was that money actually
somewhere?
It was never anywhere. So, and that's why NNPC claimed that they were the one paying, and that's why they couldn't remit to
the federation account.
The federation account. On the other hand, the NNPC GMD is now also saying that in the last 15 months, nobody has paid subsidy to anybody. So we don't know. So that's why some people now came to the conclusion that it's actually a scam. But looking at the subsidy, I mean, it was a right thing for President Ba to have
removed it,
so that we can actually look ourselves in the face. I mean, we go to Europe, we go to America, and you pay for service rendered. Okay, but in Nigeria, you discover that people don't want to. They want
render a service.
They want government to absorb those services, and government is saying that we can no longer. And where the problem also is, again, it's not even in this removal of subsidy, is the corruption. This money that is claimed to be saved, what happens to it at the end of the day? Okay, in reality, this money is stolen. Okay, so and that's where people have issues, and that's why people are saying, look, if you want us to cut
our expenses,
why will the president have 100 cars
in his motorcade
on his convoy? And an argument also now came up to say, look, most of those 100 people are not government vehicle, people who just join
from
why
the airport.
Why would government not also now look at it from the perspective to say, look, it's a security risk when you just join the convoy
of the president.
Of Mr. President. So we need to now look ourselves into the face and say, does subsidy actually exist? If it exists, how are we going to be able to react to that? Today, I mean, the last time I traveled with my wife, we were checking how much filling stations we were selling. for us to know which of the filling stations to buy from. And that, when my wife now told me that, look, she knows that there's actually subsidy now. Because I don't even know the name of filling stations before. Not to talk about the price that they put on there.
Yeah, that is something that's changed. So you need to now look at how much are you selling before you just enter the filling station and say, give me fuel. And
so reality is staring us on the face now, and people are adjusting. But let it not be for too long. Let it not be for too long, because again, we're looking at the first 100 days in office. The people is really affecting the people.
It is.
I've told you that people are losing jobs.
Yes.
Okay. People are unable to drive their cars the way it should be. So maybe when we get to start talking about the palliatives now,
you know, beyond even the cars and the, you know, and the movement, businesses are being affected.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in this part of the world, although recently, I don't know how it is in your area, but recently I think the power situation has improved a bit. But some persons say maybe it is because of the rainy season, you know, the abundance of water at the dam and all that. But this issue of subsidy removal is affecting
and the
businesses.
Effects. Yeah, yes. It definitely
is affecting businesses, you know, severely. And so the government need to begin to see, and whether the subsidy existed is something that people and Nigerians entirely have to begin to demand for an action from the president. Because, for instance, now in addition to all that you have said about the controversial statements and positions of government with regards to whether subsidy existed or not, recently we also have a data showing that, okay, the fuel consumption that we consume as a people, as a country, has reduced with about 18 million liters per day.
So those were part of what
we have been subsidizing.
The fallout of that. But looking at the direct impact on organizations now, because again we run multiple organizations. Again, you know, at a point in time we looked at our staff for them to continuously being able to come to office, because we're a private sector organization. It's okay, let us increase their salary. And we now discovered that, look, that will not
even cut it.
It will not completely solve the problem, because again, price inflation is on the
high side.
It's on rising now, and the price of commodities are increasingly on the high side on the daily basis. So we now said, okay, let us introduce something to say maybe on a monthly basis we give them like an allowance to be able to cope depending on the increase for that particular period, for that particular month. So you said that it's affected the staff.
It's
ability for them to come to office to work as at when they want to come.
Yes.
And again, you look at if the cost of living, okay, has gone up by say maybe about 80%. So how would their own salary be able to cope with them?
Because that means inflation has eaten over their salary.
So the MSME, again, for them to actually be in business, has to be very
strategic,
proactive. What we did as an organization a long time ago was to say, okay, we started introducing alternative energy.
Yes.
Okay. So which is what I encourage a lot of MSMEs to do, to say, look, if you are able to, you can start buying your alternative energy gradually. Because again, if you're
talking about solar now,
solar inverter technology, because if you want to buy at once, you may not be able to raise that money to be able to buy. So what we did, we had like a 3-year plan, and we have 2 lines of inverter now running. We divided the office into 2 parts. So you can see on a typical bad day situation, you can see that some part of the office have light, some part do not have light. So MSME must begin to think of alternative energy to be able to supplement. If you are able to get yourself to that level where your alternative energy is now enough to take you, what you will do is that you switch. Okay, maybe you are a daytime organization, so you probably run on the public energy supply till about 12. Then you switch to your alternative energy, so that can enable you, because again, everybody is threatening. Abuja Electricity Distribution Company now is threatening that they want to increase tariff.
Yes.
Okay. The people in the market have increased
price of commodities.
So transportation has gone up, and you find that in a city like Abuja, there is no transport policy at all, and that's why you see when you go around Abuja now, you see that the level of taxi, the dilapidated taxi, flying on the streets of Abuja, they are deteriorating.
Yes. Because people are going back to doorstop their archaic vehicles, because people must move.
So those are quite a number of robust reactions that people have to put into place. But again, going back to subsidy, well, it's the right thing to do. Whether it was done effectively is another day's story discussion. So, but again, there are a lot of fallouts, especially when it has to do with subsidy.
Yes.
Now somebody has successfully provided an alternative, be able to switch from petrol to gas. And they are saying, look, it's cheaper to run on gas. And one of the things that fell as a result of subsidy removal was the price of gas. The price of diesel also now fell. Okay. So those are adjustments that people
need to make. Consider.
So people are now saying, look, also make that technology available for you to be able to change your car, alternate between fuel and gas. So, and with that, people will naturally, be able to weather the storm. They say Nigerian is one of the most resilient people in the world. So by and large, maybe when we come to talk about the palliatives, palliative must come.
Yes, we need to talk about palliative, but as we move from the subsidy, I think one of the positions we need to also drum to the ears of the government is for them to demonstrate to Nigerians how sincere they are in terms of this subsidy removal. And by that I mean that the government should be able to come up with a way, because there are a lot of ambiguities in the whole system regarding subsidy removal. Did it exist? Did it not exist? What was actually the thing that they were subsidizing? And so this calls for the government to at least set up a commission of inquiry that we go to the root of this issue and present Nigerians with the exact situation of things. What actually transpired in the period in which subsidy was because you remember, I think earlier, sometimes 2017 or 2018, the House of Reps tried to do an investigation and they could not complete it.
Yeah, now you're taking me now to oil theft.
Yes. But let's leave that. Let's talk about the palliatives now.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. If palliative does not come in the next 120 days,
yes,
that will be a problem. Okay. Why did I say that will be a problem? Nigerians are very resilient people, but Nigerians are learning from other parts of the world, and that you don't have to
stretch the people for too long.
So we're talking to the government now. It's good that you decide to remove subsidy immediately without thinking about the palliative. But again, containers must necessarily have to be on the high sea now, bringing in those electric buses that you talk about. Those things that would make the ordinary man be able to move. Okay, so those subsidy in the next 120 days, if not too late,
yes,
in the next 100 days, if they can come, it will make the people to now buy into the government. They are still just watching with one eye.
Yes.
There's an analysis somebody did. I don't like to compare government, but he was saying that as at May 28, the life of an average Nigerian today, July 11th is worse than his life
prior to May 29.
But they also agree that if subsidy actually existed, it should go. So how will they now benefit is when those palliative come. So probably we'll now start talking about what are those palliative that should actually come. Because the last government wanted to take so they were talking about social transfer, which again I think is not the right way to go. Today, transportation is worse hit. Okay, because if you want to move from here to Lagos now, I mean, it's quite expensive. Somebody from Abuja to Delta, somebody told me whether it's 25,000 now. That's minimum wage
of somebody.
So transportation, we need to look at transportation critically. I have seen 1 or 2 Tesla electric cars in Abuja, but it must come into mass transit. Okay, if you bring in, for example, 100 electric buses into Abuja now, I mean, people talk about Aerofire buses in those days, but those buses are no longer in existence now. Government is not good in business. I believe in that. I trust in that. So it should be a proper private sector driven
palliative measures
approach. Empower the people to be able to do this transportation system. I mean, I don't have to use a car to come to the office if there is a good transportation
system
network. So we're not even talking about the high end, because I was reading on the news how China has been able to develop a speed train that is like half what the airline can do. So what it means that from here to Lagos is about an hour, 45 minutes an hour, but the China has been able to do a train that can do 1 hour, 40 minutes.
Like bullet train.
That bullet train. So we're not even talking about high end now. Give us basic transportation movement to enable us move. Okay? If he's using alternative source of energy, it will bring down the cost of transportation. So people will now be forced to drop their cars. So once they drop their cars, then they will now save themselves that energy, that money that they would have to use to be able to move around.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I think, you know, it's still about alternative energy that we talked about earlier for businesses.
Yeah.
You understand? Because like you talked earlier, AEDC and the rest of them are threatening to increase tariff. Now, you add that to the issue of inability to, or the rising cost of transportation arrangement and all that, then how can businesses now be able to also manage, you know, the issue of power? So I think government should also have a way. I remember in the last Buhari administration, and I think this is proper because they are still the same party. It is the same APC. The last Buhari administration came up with an initiative to provide a certain level of solar panels to certain households. I don't know where that project
came in,
you know, has ended. And so I think this government can resuscitate that and dust it up and, you know, use it to target businesses. Okay, if you're a business of certain category, you know, you can come and assess certain level of
energy
and alternative energy facilities, you know, that you can deploy to your business locations.
I agree 100% with you. Those are the kind of there are real subsidy that will impact on the business. You know, beyond government support for alternative listen. What about I mean, crashing the price of internet?
Yeah, so that brings us to the issue of suspension of excise duties for telecoms industry. Yeah. Because, you know, the last finance bill that was signed by President Buhari, you know, made provision for
5%.
5%.
Okay, increase.
Yes.
Okay.
On telecom.
Yeah, the government has suspended it, and it's a good move.
Yes.
Because again, I was listening to somebody who says that an average business pay more than 99 form of taxes. The worst you can do to yourself today as an MSME is to brand your car.
Oh, you are finished. You are finished.
In this Abuja, and you want to travel from here to Lagos.
Wow.
That car may not.
You will not return back with you.
Never return. So it was a good thing that the president did by suspending that policy by the last administration on the 5% excise on telecoms and even on plastics.
Yes.
Okay, so these are local items that we use. So it was a good move by them, but I think they should go beyond that. It should go beyond that, because again, we're looking at an economy now of young people that are jackpotting.
Yes.
Okay, you remember that on this platform we predicted this jackpot
syndrome
and looked at the impact. Even though some people argue that it's a good thing, but again, a full family, husband and wife, had 2 cars, had a house in Nigeria, and decided to jackpot. Those family is in serious problem right now. Okay, so why can't we try to see how we can use telecom to retain
people?
Our fintech is thriving in Nigeria. We have, I mean, when the cashless
policy,
Naira design issue came, fintech came on board aggressively. So, if internet is available, the young people will move less. They will stay in the comfort of their house and become creative.
Yes, after all, they work from home. you know, system.
COVID-19
Yes.
brought us about working from home,
Exactly.
which is not something. I mean, it's just to get the work.
Not,
yes. The MSME need internet because again, the notion now that data is life.
Yes.
Okay. So without data, I'm sure an average business person like you would not be able to
run,
to function. So government should try to see how they can make internet available. That will reduce moving
the
around,
pressure,
and it will help people to become much more creative. Part of what the subsidy is going to do again is going to create a lot of employment. Today, engineers fabricating injectors to be able to use gas is going to be available. Most of the filling stations are going to set up a gas station in their own station. And so you have a filling station dispensing diesel, dispensing PMS,
petrol,
dispensing gas. So more people will be required in order to, so mechanics that are to do all these things will come up. So it will create, but government needs to be proactive enough
to create an enabling environment.
Create enabling environment for all these things to happen. So I'm looking at a situation that if government knows what they're doing, they're able to provide all these palliatives. In 6 months' time, you know, we'll regret why was there
subsidy in the first place.
In the first place.
All right, so that is quite interesting dimension. You know, so we encourage the government to look deeply into internet. Has become a very, very important aspect of our daily life, and therefore the government need to pay attention to how they can achieve that. So let's look at the unification of forex, you know, the elimination of the parallel market, as it were. You know, today that action has actually also driven the exchange rate to over 700 naira. But what people are saying is that with time, it could, you know, come down to a bit manageable level.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, we're all MSMEs. I mean, you do a lot of digital work.
Yes.
So, and governments, they were running two markets. The two parallel markets. Okay, one was government.
Official rate
with about 400 and something.
Yes.
So I'm doing a survey now. Has any of us in the last 4 years
obtained from the formal
be able to exchange at 400, let's say 450?
For where?
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now? So I mean, if you want dollar, what do? You go to
the black market.
The black market. So me and you, the MSMEs, that's where they have been patronizing. So who are the people who actually get at this 400 and something? They are the bourgeois.
Yes. Actually, that is true. That is true. But again, what we are really driving at is that, you know, if you look at a country such as even Benin Republic here, okay, their exchange rate is still lower, compared to what we are having. But our exchange rate with their currency has to be higher than their currency.
What happened is the greed of the average Nigerian, the quest for foreign goods drives them to want to patronize
foreign products.
And the more you are patronizing, the more your exchange rate will be going up. Because I looked at the top 10 African countries with the lowest exchange rates. And you can still see African country at 1 naira, 2 naira, to $1. And we're talking about 700 and something.
Yes.
So what is going to be the simple solution? We must manufacture.
I think in addition to manufacturing, sir,
yes.
Do you know, somebody came to me yesterday, just yesterday, and he was telling me that a guy went to pitch a business idea for a supposed government official, a private business idea, you know, for collaboration with the government official. And irrespective of the idea, you know, we can push the idea out of this equation first. But the fact is, this person designed the budget for this project in dollars.
That's the government official now?
No,
Okay.
the individual
Okay.
design the budget for a business you want to start up in Nigeria
and in dollar.
in dollars.
And because again, there's something called hedging, and when you are doing international business, okay, because again the naira is fluctuating. So what the dollar does not fluctuate. Okay, like a family friend was in Dubai 2 years ago. So 2 years later, she went to Dubai. The exchange rate between the Dubai currency and the dollar was still the same. What changed was naira. So what that means is that it's safer for that businessman to quote in dollar, knowing that, you know, it's like going to borrow today. You go and borrow in dollars, and you now want to use exchange rates. And maybe during good luck regime it was 250,000. Now it's 700. You're already in a deep shit.
Yeah.
So probably that's what. But again, you cannot spend local currency in a local. I mean, you cannot
Foreign
spend currency in a local economy.
So for me, I think that is where our problem is.
No, okay, I agree with you. But how will manufacturing help us to?
Of course, definitely you can't. You know, somebody was saying that you can't even shore up your currency.
Okay.
You know, when you are not manufacturing. That is the fundamental economics of foreign exchange.
Okay.
You must be a producing nation to have a very high foreign exchange, and even to have your trade balance in the first place. So why we continue to push that the government create certain policy to see that our manufacturing sector, our businesses are a bit more competitive. And of course, businesses cannot be competitive in the light of all these issues.
Yeah, because again,
subsidy removal without palliatives, suspension of
unification of
forex
without manufacturing.
Without manufacturing.
And again, I mean, nobody is even talking about the Dangote refinery now. Okay, I mean, I heard that July, Max, August, it will come into operations. So we're praying every day. Okay, so if Nigeria must pray now, they should pray that project should come on stream. What would that project do? It will reduce the rate at which we purchase forex for the import of fuel. So, and the money involved is huge. Even though somebody says that, look, the presence of Dangote refinery may not have much effect on the current price right now, but again, that will help.
Again, you know, we need to also begin to point out, because you said something. When you are talking international business, Dangote refinery is an international business.
Yeah. So
have we asked ourselves, what currency is it going to be quoting?
Yeah. So
if small businesses, a startup that have not even started, is quoting in dollars, what are you expecting a Dangote refinery?
Well, of course, the federal government will sell will sell crude to him at dollar. So, but again, the cost of logistics, shipping to and fro, will be out of it. Okay. And one of the things I must quickly mention, which is what I experienced when I traveled, the first day I got to Edo State, fuel was 520. In Abuja, it was 537.
540.
So I noticed that from the ports, as it goes up north, the price will be increasing. Because that's, again, we have that equalization agency there who helps to balance that distance. That's why the man in Yobe is crying out that fuel is like 600, 700 in that region. So that means the cost of living in those regions will be higher. But again, if Dangote is able to come in, if they're able to build a rail system that can transport
petrol across the country,
that will also go a long way to help. So gradually, a lot of factors that will help the exchange rate to stabilize is one, if Dangote comes on stream. Two, if we improve on our manufacturing, okay, so all these factors will go a long way to help to bring down that. But again, talking about forex, the MSMEs are complaining because they want to buy items online now. The banks are not even providing that the platform for you to be able to do that. Even when they tell them to go and do the dollar card, they are still unable to buy things from the international markets. So I think the government should look at that critically. The young people, the MSMEs, that is where they are thriving. Okay, a young person wants to be able to, interact and be able to get items across without much hassles.
So government should have to look into some of these pain points and see how they can provide solutions for them. But are you seeing, or is it because of the absence of ministers? Because beyond some of these steps that the president is taking, which is a bit like the top of the decision, we are not seeing the trickle-down approach to implementing several aspects of these policies that will support the economy to thrive and empower businesses.
I also agree with you, because again, when you wake up every morning now, what they show you on TV is the people that went to Aso Rock to go and have a handshake with the president. That's not what the MSMEs are.
No, that's not what we're looking for.
So, thank God, the law is there now that within 2 months or within 60 days, the president must put in place the minister. So, of course, there are some things he will not be able to do. He's been able to put up a lot of essays and PAs working with him now, but the ministers will be needed who will drive down those policies. And again, if you look at the antecedent of the president, he is going to be able to appoint people who will work, and the people are there to tell you to say, look,
to show you the door.
So there was a news flash that I saw that the last minister of FCT was an 8 years mistake.
Yes,
that was the verdict of the people.
It was an 8 years mistake, because people didn't even know him. You don't see him in projects or programs, and he's always just in his office if he's at all.
So
if he's there
that takes us to the quality
of
the ministers now. So there must be people. I mean, like, I have an essay on monetary policy. That sounds very interesting to me. So that means that monetary policy is at the focus of what the president wants to do.
Of course.
So again, I see a governor who brought down the number of ministries from his state from 25 to 21. Okay, but again, we have this bogus law that says that, look, there must be a minister from each state. The whole of the state of Israel do not have more than 8 ministers. Okay? So, but this time around, there must be ministers who know what they are doing, and there must be a peer review mechanism to be able to compare what they are doing. There must be key performance indicators. These people must be, I mean, that's why NGOs like Sarah, and they're doing fantastically well. For every issue now, they don't argue again, they just take the case to court. And at the end of the day,
that is the mantra of the president. Go to court.
So, I mean, look at the Abacha loot now.
Yes.
Somebody is saying, is it because Abacha is dead that
we're going to court?
The man is bringing out money from the grave. So let a lot of all these people die so that
they'll bring out their own money. Okay, so as we begin to wrap up, let's look at the recent pronouncement by Labour Party chairman that the party faithful should begin to prepare for a rerun, that the APC is preparing for a rerun. I don't know, where is that coming from?
Well, when we discussed this offline, I said, he who is down
needs no fear.
Needs no fear. Again, the Labour Party scenario, I think they have been able to build up followership. Whether they will be able to sustain it is something I fear. It permits me to digress a little bit. Preparatory to the elections, we had a lot of discussions here. We even made predictions.
Yes.
So we looked at the 4
candidates.
4 candidates then, but Tinubu, Kwakwanso,
and Atiku.
So, Kwakwanso took his time out to leave PDP. Or was he APC?
PDP.
To go and form his own party. Peter Obi took time out to go and align with Labour Party. So today, if you want to compare those two parties, which one is more on ground compared to the problem that Labour Party has been having? I think Kwakwanso is in a position now to negotiate with the president, talking about government of national unity. So what the president is doing is to bring people from different opposition party. But have you ever heard him talk to Labour Party?
Yeah, I think there is no direct rapprochement,
okay.
But I remember that during the Senate Senate inauguration,
okay.
and the campaign for principal officers in the Senate, the APC
okay.
went to Labour Party.
They are discussing with Labour Party, not with Peter Obi.
Yeah, I think.
So what's the difference? Was the Kwakwanso has met with the president about 3 times. Abi?
Yes.
So have you heard him meet with Labour Party?
No, Peter Obi.
He has not met with Peter Obi. So a lot of people argue that Peter Obi won the election. You can go back to our
previous analysis
on that, okay? And I'm saying it today. If that election would have been, if it were left the way it was, maybe Peter Obi scored the highest votes. But I don't think that Peter Obi had 24 states to be declared as
the president.
So, and on this screen today, I'm also going to tell you what is likely. The case is in court, and we're not allowed to make pronouncements. But as an analyst, I'm telling you that
we can make conjectures.
So, what is likely going to happen is that the elections were flawed. Nobody is arguing that. But I think it's going to be like a pronouncement that this election was flawed, but it's not enough to
invalidate the results.
The results. That's what I think will happen
at the end of the day.
So, like you said, we don't know where Labour got the fact that they should prepare for a re-election. And I don't even think that we have the money now for a rerun. The court may also be looking at that. The court will look at a lot of things. They will look at public opinion. The president, how is he doing now? He's trying to,
galvanize the people, the economy,
all those things. So that's the body language now. So even those so-called obedient, some of them are now saying, okay, let's even give this man
some chance
to see what he can do. You understand? So yeah, the court will look at that. The court will look at the various other reports, the EU report and some of all these other reports, and they will now even look at Nigeria as a nation. If we invalidate this election, okay, do we have the resources to conduct a fresh election? Even though a lot of people will argue that should not be a factor. When we get to the bridge, we're going to cross it. So, but I've just told you what I think will happen. A lot of people will not like what I've said, but I'm talking from an analyst point of view.
Yeah, I think the takeaway is that the court will look at so many factors. Definitely, they will look at so many factors. But one key issue still is, what is the fundamental question of a democracy? It is the will of the people. Okay, so that election or the result of that election reflect the will of the people. I think that is a fundamental question that the court have responsibility to give judgment upon. Now, again, it's complicated because for the court to also be able to do that, they will require a lot of proof, a lot of evidence. So the issue is Labour Party or PDP able to provide or produce evidence that can, prove to the court that yes, this process, this result does not reflect the wish of the people. So a lot of factors.
Yeah, beyond that, this election, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, is the most diverse
election.
Very true. With seven parties at the National Assembly.
Yes.
Okay. number of governors, sitting governors, lost elections.
Very true.
Mr. President lost election in his state.
So these are complicated facts that will be brought before the
only
court.
problem is I don't know. I think the problem is just with INEC.
Yeah, I think that is where the problem lies.
So even APC, in doing the analysis, they were declared the winner. Okay, so they should, and that's why some people argue that when Yar'Adua was sworn in as president, he acknowledged the fact that the election was flawed.
Yeah.
Okay, so APC vis-a-vis President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should have acknowledged that, look, this election
did not meet the standard. Yes.
Nevertheless, I've been declared president.
Yes.
The UWES panel report,
yes,
the EU report made reference to that report again. So why wouldn't President Bola Tinubu not go back to that report? Okay, I've not heard him mention something about state police. I've not heard him mention something about restructuring. These are the things that Nigerians
are yearning for.
Are yearning for, that he must go back to. And in the next 100 days, he must begin to do things around those areas.
Those salient issues.
Issue of Nnamdi Kanu must be
addressed.
It must be addressed. Okay, if I were him, I would have made pronouncements on that, on this. But I'm sure he's putting his think tank together to be able to make pronouncements, so that whenever he makes that pronouncement, let it be a correct pronouncement.
Yeah. So as we begin to wrap up, you mentioned INEC. INEC is saying that they are beginning to prosecute election offenders. I don't know, what is that going to help in repositioning the image, because I think the image of INEC was so battered coming out of this election.
Yeah, so they made a simple pronouncement. There should be another agency now to prosecute. To prosecute
election offenders.
That will, and that's part of WIS report that they should unbundle INEC. So that should be done, so that you don't let them just be saddled with responsibility of conducting elections. So if anybody commits offense, another agency should pick that up, relate with the police to be able to do that. Because again, the election was still largely violent. There was still ballot suppression. There were, now with new dimension came in where informations were not uploaded as at when they ought to be uploaded. So INET is too burdensome, and again, they are coming up with quite a number of issues, and I don't know how they are going to clean up themselves. But again, when you mention INEC now, the issue of Mesoma and JAM came up. The only thing that people remember is INEC. So,
and do you know that in a way, in the earlier part of that story, that made people to like put all their eggs in for Mesoma. You know,
yeah, because INEC, JAMB is has proven in the last few years to be a credible organization.
Yes,
they've put their house to order, and you know, it was a simple something. Mesoma was parading his certificate and said, "Look, the last time we issued that certificate was 3 years ago," and the number of entrants that she made to check that result, they pull out those information. Okay, so those are what people are expecting INEC to do. Okay, you try to submit election result 2 times, 3 times. INEC should be able to go to court, and those are critical issues. So INEC needs to, I don't know how they will do it, because again, people will tell, okay, at the governorship and the other elections, they did well.
Yes.
The presidential was
just something
so,
else.
and I listened to INEC chairman, I pitied him. He said the outcome of the election was complicated.
I think on that note of complication, we're going to end the program here today. And I want to thank you for being there. Your last word, sir?
Yes, the MSME Roundtable. Meet us there. Just the flyers we go around, just indicate interest. We'll send the link to you. We're going to be discussing those topical issues as it relates to MSME, and we want a situation where the MSMEs are able to champion the growth of this economy. The politicians come to govern, but the tools in which they need to govern is the MSME, because at the end of the day, those are the people that the policies will trickle down for the economy to start growing. So I want to plead with you, just like us on your Facebook, follow us on all our social media handle, and you'll be rest assured that if you participate on the MSME, you will come into that pressure group that will help your business to grow. Today, we run series of businesses, and we are proud to say that none of our business will go under because we kept evolving. As an MSME, you must keep evolving. If you remain on one particular path,
sorry will be your name.
One policy will come to sweep you under the carpet. So we've been here for some time. We've worked with various credible organizations, and now one of those training that we'll do in future is grant writing. So please follow us, and you'll be rest assured. If you have the means, reach out directly to us, and we'll be able to take you to that Eldorado of business that you are dreaming of.
Yeah, thank you very much, GMD, CEO, G Consulting International Services. On that note, let me remind you that this program is brought to you by CEO G Connect Forum. It is an offshoot of G Consulting International Services. And like the GMD have said, we look forward to seeing you at the MSME Outlook webinar. Thank you very much.